Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Pod.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, guys, Coach Steve. I'm out of my normal location on a Monday here, but the podcast must go on because I was not able to figure out when I was going to do the last week's start and sit show, so that's my bad. That's my fault on that. I should have just done it. I had some issues with scheduling with my own self, but had to make sure we got here on a Monday episode for you guys to give you guys a little recap, keep and cut, and waivers for today. So that's what we're going to get into. Again, on Monday show, much shorter, nice 30 minutes. So if you're tuning in, listening, hang out, let us know if you have any questions, and we will go from there. And of course, we have Coach Tyler on the show today. Coach Tyler, what's going on, brother?
What's up, guys? I honestly didn't realize looking at this week that it was just a primetime weekend for me and Coach Steve's teams. Hopefully the Dolphins fare a little better tonight than my Texans did yesterday.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, I hope so as well, but you just never know with Miami right now, unfortunately, but it's what it is. So sorry about your guys' team last night. I thought you guys had the win.
I did too. It happened.
pesty Lions right now. God. All right, guys. So like I said, we're going to get right into things today here, and we're going to start off at the top with injuries. Thankfully, injuries are not too crazy this week here. Really good thing on that. I mean, there's a couple things like Miles Sanders' foot injury, but they're heading into a bye. Jonathan Brooks is supposed to be playing after the bye, so Miles Sanders is kind of non-irrelevant. Sam Laporta, shoulder sprain. Supposedly it's only day-to-day. It's nothing too seriously, so that is good for those who are rostering Sam Laporta. Tank Bigsby left relatively early with an ankle injury. I haven't heard any words about exactly what's going on with that, but definitely will open up the door for a guy like Travis Etienne maybe getting his full-time role back, which he had a high percentage snaps in the first time in weeks. Dak heads to the IR, and damn, Dallas really needs something to do at quarterback because it was dreadful this past weekend to see quarterback in Dallas. Trevor Lawrence is in danger of missing potentially the rest of the season with his AC sprain. So we'll have to see how that's going to protrude. But Mac Jones did not look very good for that Jacksonville offense either. It's another year of the backups, which nobody wants to deal with once again for fantasy because it's been such a headache. But Coach Tyler, is there anything to say about the injuries? I don't really think there's much, but if there's anything you want to mention, go for it.
Yeah. Just two really quick. So Miles Sanders with the foot injury, Canales came out today and said that they don't know the severity of the injury, but he's going to some specialists to go talk about it. Apparently they're listing it as a foot/knee. So we'll see what that means. But that could mean we see a lot more Jonathan Brooks than the Panthers had initially anticipated into this back end of the season. If Miles Sanders is out, Brooks got activated onto the active roster last week, so he luckily got off the IR. IR stint, didn't get put on that IR for the rest of the season. But I think the Panthers planned on having Miles Sanders there as that backup to sort of bridge the gap and get Brooks touches, but not have to force him into a heavier workload, at least initially. But even with how good Chuba Hubbard's been, he's going to need to take a breather at some point, especially if they're going to run the ball as much as they have been. And so I think we see a little bit more Jonathan Brooks earlier than planned. And with Dak going to the IR, this was rumored last week. Dak said that he was surprised that he wasn't put on the IR before this game on Sunday. But we saw, Cooper Rush had come out in the past for the Cowboys and done some crazy things, the years of the backup type stuff. But he just looked abysmal on Sunday. And the Cowboys honestly don't have a terrible schedule going out through the rest of the year. But even with that, even with the chance that Cooper Rush returns to all the glory that he was a few seasons ago, I'm majorly downgrading CeeDee Lamb. Like it's, he's still got his 10 targets, but we see 6 receptions for 21 yards. Dude's not getting past the line of scrimmage at all. And obviously they play Houston at home next week. Big game that I'm very excited for. But after that, we have Washington, we have the Giants, you have Cincy, you have Carolina, you have Tampa Bay, and then you have Philly one last time in week 17 to finish out. If you make it to your championship in most leagues, you have a week 17 championship. You get Philly that last time. But there's not a ton of difficult matchups in there. But also, if the Cowboys look anything like they did on Sunday the rest of the season, I don't trust CeeDee Lamb to do anything overly useful for my fantasy team. So I'm downgrading him a ton with Dak going to the IR. And, there's already been rumors of him getting a surgery and missing the entire rest of the season. So downgrade Lamb a ton.
Yeah, no, I honestly agree with you. CeeDee Lamb is definitely concerning after this week's performance here. And I'm hoping it can at least get a little bit better where it's at least, flex appeal each and every single week. But the upside of a wide receiver one for Lamb moving forward right now is pretty much non-existent, in danger, however you want to put it. Like, it's just the quarterback situation is rough here. Cooper Rush, I don't know how he could only throw 45 yards in this game here. And then Trey Lance is just a hot mess and wildly inaccurate of a quarterback there. So CeeDee Lamb is in danger. You should not expect him, like Coach Tyler said, to be a top tier upside play anymore, but hopefully can at least give us a solid 10 to 12 points most weeks. But yeah, it is concerning. I mean, it's hard. You could probably look to trade him. I mean, if he could get trying to even think right now who you could even go out there to want to get. I wouldn't even maybe would you Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb? Would you go after Tyreek Hill easily?
Yeah, I go pretty easily. If I know that 2 is healthy the rest of the year, I'd probably go Hill very easily.
All right, let me put my cap on. Josh Downs or CeeDee Lamb?
Honestly, Downs. Even with how bad Flacco's looked, Downs has been,
oh God,
pretty good.
I think Downs is where I still want CeeDee Lamb in that sense. There, I'm thinking more trying to think who's in solid wide receiver 2 right now that we could probably talk about. George Pickens. I would give up CeeDee Lamb for George Pickens right now. I think that's why I stand on Lamb right now is Pickens area.
Yeah, Russ hadn't looked bad. Pickens is falling into the end zone.
Exactly. That's kind of how I see it. And so, I mean, talk to some owners. I mean, you selling low on Lamb is definitely not the most ideal situation in redraft leagues right now. But it's a conversation you need to have because I'm sure trade deadlines for redraft leagues got another 2 weeks ago. So you need to move around there and try to convince managers that CeeDee Lamb is still going to be an elite option and that you should want him on your team, but give me this so I can have these players in a return trade. So. All right. Heading over to our next section here. We have our keep and cut. We'll go through this relatively quickly here. About 8 names we have here for keep or cut. Starting off here at quarterback, Jared Goff. Obviously, the 5 interception game was not ideal, but Jared Goff really hasn't overly been great for fantasy football. He's been good for the Lions, obviously. They're having tons of success on offense, so he's just not doing enough for fantasy purposes here. But how do you feel about Jared Goff? You keep cutting him?
Looking forward, I'm probably going to cut him. Everyone's going to be up on the 5 interceptions last night. Obviously, Houston's defense, number 1 defense in the league. They're just the best. But really, I kind of counted as 4 because one of those interceptions was the Hail Mary throw at the end of the first half. And so, it counts on the stats, but when you're looking at the script of the game, it doesn't really count. He was just running out the clock trying to get something out. But you see, if you're looking to make your playoff run and you're dependent on Jared Goff, I feel really bad for you, right? Because he goes Jacksonville, Indy the next couple weeks, but then 13 through 17, you've got Chicago, Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago again, and then San Francisco in championship week. And that's not a schedule that I want any quarterback to have. especially one that really hasn't had the volume that we thought that he might have with just all these weapons. You know, the run game has just been so much better and so well utilized that it doesn't make, like, you don't have to throw the ball a ton. And that's a great thing for, you know, real world NFL stuff for the Lions. But for fantasy, if he's going out there, you know, this 30 attempt game is the highest week that we've seen since week 2, and this is his second highest week on the season. And so, you know, if you're basically promised under 30 attempts the rest of the season, especially against some really good defenses going through that, you know, kind of end of the regular season, trying to work your way into playoffs and then going through playoffs, I don't want to hold on to him. That's just, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of on the same page there. I mean, it will depend who's on your waiver wire right now for fantasy, but I mean, Jared Goff has just been very disappointing in terms of the consistency that you want from your QB1 for your team here. And like, if you know, I've seen places where Brock Purdy's still possibly out there. Like now that their team is getting healthy in terms of their star players, like I kind of want Brock Purdy a little bit more. You know, if Tua ends up doing really well tonight, I kind of want to, because the matchups there's some decent matchups still in there. Like it's just that the Lions are not going to be a heavy throwing team for the most part. Their defense is elite, and they have an elite run game where when they get to the red zone, it's all about running the ball. So Jared Goff kind of gets left in the dust there. And yeah, you know, like Amon St. Brown will get his 7 for 60 and a touchdown most weeks, but doesn't mean Jared Goff is going to have an elite production, and definitely someone that I'd consider moving on from at some point if I can. If you have the right quarterback out there on waivers, go and get. All right, let's look at some running backs here, some kind of bottom end guys like Braylon Allen. Do you still want to hold on to Braylon Allen right now?
I'm going to cut him. You know, we haven't seen double-digit touches, or we've seen double-digit touches once since week 3. He's just not getting the work, and the Jets honestly haven't needed him to come in all that much. So he's not going to get the volume, and he's not, you know, a big home run hitter type running back. He's a big, you know, grinder in between the 20s, get you, you know, 3-4 yards, and then pull him out and put in Breece Hall. And so I'm good cutting him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, Braylon Allen has just one game over 5 fantasy points since week 3. It's clear that this offense just isn't that great to have all these players be successful. Breece Hall is obviously the main guy there, and then it just comes down to how many times Aaron Rodgers plans on throwing the ball to his 2 wide receivers. So you're not really looking for Braylon Allen as, like, unless you can hold a handcuffed player, it's just not really worth your time to hold on to him unless you're a team who's maybe 7-1 or 8, you know, whatever you are. But if you're a team that's in the middle of the pack right now, like Braylon Allen isn't going to help you win a championship, and you're just hoping that Breece Hall gets hurt. It's just hard to hope that an injury comes if you're a team that needs to make wins for playoffs. All right, but about Jordan Mason? This past week here, CMC's back here. 1 carry, I think he had, and I think he had 5% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Do you hold on to Jordan Mason still, or do you cut him now and allow someone else to take on to that burden?
I'm going to hold on to him only if I have Christian McCaffrey. Because obviously McCaffrey comes back and, you know, he looks about as vintage McCaffrey as you can. 107 total yards, doesn't score a touchdown, but still gets 7 targets out of the backfield. Like, he only gets 13 rushes for 3, you know, an average of 3 yards a carry. So nothing, you know, outstanding. I don't think he's going all pro with those type of averages. But the injury is still something that would linger in my mind. And so if I have Christian McCaffrey, I want to have Jordan Mason. If I don't have McCaffrey, I'm okay dropping Mason because kind of like you just talked about with Braylon Allen, you're just sitting there kind of hoping and waiting on CMC to get hurt again so that you have this value. And so if I have CMC, I'm hold him just in case. Just keep those handcuffs at this point in the year. But if he's just the lone 49ers back on my roster, I'm perfectly okay cutting him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think if you could look to trade him to this Christian McCaffrey owner and say, listen, like, give me like Tyler Lockett, give me trying to think of like some low end player like that you could go out there and grab right now. gosh, like a Jalen Warren. No, probably not Jalen Warren. No one probably will trade that for Jalen Warren right now. But like a low tier wide receiver, you can go get backup tight end that they have on their roster, something like that. The team who has Christian McCaffrey might want to have that insurance there. But if not, like again, this is similar to Brown Allen. Unless you're a team that is literally undefeated or have a few losses, like you might want to cut your losses short and go out and get other players because Jordan Mason is not going to be relevant as long as Christian McCaffrey's on the field, and we can't again predict when injuries will occur again. What about Jonathan Brooks? Obviously, it's been a real disappointment for those who have drafted him. Obviously, he's going into a bye week, so he won't be available to us until week 12, and obviously the rest of the season here, and we don't know what kind of ramp up that's going to be. Do you cut him or do you keep him? Where do you stand at with John Brooks right now?
Yeah. This is why you listen to fantasy coaches in the offseason, because we told you just about every episode that we talked about running backs with Jonathan Brooks that he wasn't going to do anything this year. So if you wasted draft pick on him, I feel really sorry in your redraft leagues. But I'm going to hold on to him right now. Obviously didn't make his debut this week, which makes total sense. The Panthers kind of backed themselves into a corner of opening that 21-day practice window. They just really had to add him to the active roster. But no one really planned on him playing this week. You don't want his first start to be a across the world game in Germany. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And you have the bye week coming up. But coming out of the bye, I could really see the Panthers losing every single one of these games, right? Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Philly, Dallas, even with their bad quarterbacks, might be a winnable game. But Dallas, Arizona, and then Tampa Bay again. Like, these are not games that I would favor the Panthers in.
No.
So once they get down, I like the idea that Brooks is going to start to get up to speed, and they're going to put him into games. And, he's been putting out full practices since he got activated. And so there's full realm of possibility that he can come out and be great, and the Panthers have this 1-2 rushing attack immediately once he touches the field, right? Obviously, Hubbard has been dominating that role. He got paid like he's been dominating that role. But I'm going to hold on to Brooks and see what he is. Like, if you've held on to him for now 10 going on 11 weeks, what's a couple more, right? Just see if you can get a return on your investment. But also, if someone's willing to trade you something worthwhile for Jonathan Brooks, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, no. I'm kind of torn on Jonathan Brooks right now because, like you mentioned his schedule, and to me that's a big thing. Now you're looking at who he plays. He plays a lot of teams that have a really good run defense this year. So unless his involvement in the passing game is going to be ramped up by the time fantasy playoffs comes, like if you're a team that is desperately needing to find running back or depth right now, just to find someone, like I just don't see Jonathan Brooks being an asset for you over the next 4 weeks of the regular season here. So like, to me, if I can find a way to get him off my team, yes, I'd love to trade him. But if you're desperate and you need running back help, and if there's a running back out there still or a wide receiver you need right now, I'm kind of okay cutting Jonathan Brooks at this point, just because at what point is he going to see 15? Is he going to see 15 plus touches in a game? He's probably not for at least a few weeks. And by the time you need him, and by the time he actually does it, it's going to be the fantasy playoffs, and you may not be available. So unless you think you're guaranteed to make the fantasy playoffs, I'd consider cutting him because I think he's not going to help you in your fantasy team. He's just going to be dead weight. And at this point there, dead weight is not good for a team that's attempting to make the playoffs unless you're already a team that's very high up there for your fantasy or league week. So our one tight end, Jake Ferguson here, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, just has been really just bad, unfortunately, over the last month of the season. And now, obviously, things have gotten worse for him. Obviously, with Dak now out for the rest of the season, more than likely. I mean, he's got just, one game over 10 fantasy points in the last 4. Dak usually was the quarterback, the tight end whisperer throwing to him the ball, but now we have Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. Do you keep or cut him? If there's guys like, I'm trying to think right now, like if a Mike Gesicki's still out there, or like,
I'd honestly probably take like a Taysom Hill right now over Jake.
Taysom Hill's potential upside.
Yeah.
Just fire me, maybe. Just like trying to think of like options that are out there.
Yeah. I feel like Ferguson just isn't an upside. He doesn't have a ton of upside. Like his floor and his ceiling are about as close as they could be.
Right.
And his floor is not overly high to the point where that ceiling is intriguing enough to me. And tight ends have been weird this year, but I don't, like I said, talking about the Cowboys, there's a couple games that they play some really bad defenses. There's some winnable games out there, even with what they put out against the Eagles. They're playing some bad teams. But if there's any better option for you than Jake Ferguson on the waivers, I'm perfectly okay dropping him. I don't want to have to hold on to him, but depending on what your league looks like, depending on how stingy people are with rostering tight ends, you might kind of be stuck with him and just hoping Cooper Rush can get him the ball.
That's true. Yeah.
But
That's
if
fair.
you're in a position to, throw him into a trade and upgrade at tight end, if you're in a position to get someone like possibly a Gesicki or Taysom Hill or some people we'll talk about off the waivers, I take them over Jake Ferguson.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, this is more like just for me. It's just like cut everyone basically, not to spoil the rest of the players. But for me, it's like almost cut everyone. But yeah, Jake Ferguson. Like if you can find a way, if you can find a different tight end out there, like he just doesn't do it for me for fantasy football right now. And I think it's just going to get worse and worse for this Cowboys all passing offense moving forward. So even though the matchups aren't bad, though, that's the only thing that's kind of keep me around for Jake Ferguson. Like you have Cincinnati, you have Carolina, Tampa. Those are like decent matchups, but getting there again, if Mike Gesicki or Taysom Hill is out there, I kind of want to cut him. But if not, maybe I do want to keep him. Actually, I do want to keep him if there's not a valuable enough tight end like a Mike Gesicki or Taysom Hill. But outside of that, I think I'd want to cut him. But yeah. Next up, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's been under 10 fantasy points 4 straight weeks now. How do you feel about Keenan Allen? Keep or cut? He's probably cut for a lot of players at this point. A lot of my leagues, he's cut.
Yeah, he's up in the cut range for me. And he's tied to a rookie quarterback. It doesn't matter if it's Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. He's going to be up and down, right? Yeah. And even if he's up, Keenan Allen is in a stable of offensive playmakers that are going to need the ball. And so I'm really kind of in the range of Keenan Allen is cuttable. A lot of people were concerned about kind of his weight and how he was moving coming into the season. We've seen him miss a couple weeks with injury. He's obviously not leading this team in receiving. It's just kind of a perfect storm for, 32-year-old Keenan Allen to start to find his way off our rosters if he's on there already.
Exactly. Ooh, question for tonight, fellas. What's up? Stafford or Tua tonight?
That
is tough.
It's very tough.
I would say Stafford. I trust the passing situation more at home with him and his weapons than I trust Tua throwing the ball for touchdowns compared to Stafford having more potential for that.
Yeah, I'm good with Stafford there. Hopefully.
And I'm a Dolphins fan, so if you're, that's how I even feel about it.
Yeah. You just kind of know you're going to get like 250 and a touchdown or two, especially when they're at home. So if you're kind of you need someone to play at quarterback, play Stafford. If you need the Hail Mary, I might go Tua in that case. Just, maybe fair. Tyreek has an outstanding game and carries the offense.
As long as he plays.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm good with Stafford on that.
That's fair. Xavier Worthy really hasn't stepped up to the plate that we would all probably have wanted him to do since Rishi Rice went down and Juju Smith-Schuster went down. Now Hopkins kind of being the better guy. One game over 10 fantasy points since their bye week. Decent matchups down the stretch, kind of. How do you feel?
I'm really okay cutting him. If you knew who he was going into the draft, obviously he got utilized a lot more at Texas. But when you pair an athlete like this with Andy Reid, you know that he's going to be, a deep threat / gadget guy, right? He's just going to have fun with him. You've got literally the
A lot of
fastest
old
man
weapons.
in 40 history. But, there's a couple weeks that we saw with 8 targets, week 7, week 8. But outside of that, he's just a consistent 4 or less targets. And I'm not someone who is overly high on him. I thought that he'd be fun in the Chiefs offense for, real world football. And we saw that kind of in his first, week 1, comes out and catches that long touchdown and then takes that little jet sweep, reverse, whatever it was, 20-something yards, makes all the moves to go in, score a touchdown. And that's where he makes his plays. But he's just such a boom bust guy that I'm not overly excited to play him or start him because I don't trust that he's going to get more than, those 4 target games where I'm hoping he just catches a long touchdown to make the week worth it.
That's fair. All right, let's get over to waiver wire. Running out of time here. Starting off at top here at quarterback, guys. Obviously, we know most of our waiver wires are under the 40% mark, so they're hopefully available in at least most of leagues under that 40% range here. If you're looking at higher percentage, Bo Nix, held himself well against Kansas City, plays the Falcons this week. But top options, I see it quarterback this week. Russell Wilson at Baltimore. Russell has been really solid since returning to the starting lineup here, has more weapons now. Baltimore's terrible secondary this year. We just saw what happened last week against Baltimore secondary. Drake May's been pretty solid, has a rushing floor, which is really great. And the Rams, they do struggle against quarterbacks from time to time. And Jameis Winston, not that great, but Saints secondary lost the key player when they traded away Marshawn Lattimore. And Winston coming out of a bye revenge game to some extent against New Orleans. I'm sure he's going to want to really step up and play well. So those are my top 3 waiver wires for quarterbacks. But Coach Tyler, who is your favorite quarterback pickup this week?
Yeah, I do really like Russ. He's just shown out enough, 2 top 12 quarterback weeks in his really 3 starts. And that one bad week coming against the Giants where he just didn't need to go crazy throwing the ball, only found the end zone once. But we have, we've seen a rushing touchdown from him in week 7 against the Jets. He obviously went toe-to-toe with Washington this week, got the ball in the end zone 3 times. And, he's not really outstandingly blowing people away in the passing yards category, right? He's hitting a couple big weeks, and I think that that's what we can see with Baltimore. I think that's what's going to happen this week. I think he's going to stay up in that 260, 270 range. And if he gets multiple balls in the end zone, he's going to have another QB1 week. And if I can secure QB1 on my team, especially if I'm looking on the waivers for a quarterback, then I'm happy with it. And Baltimore's going to stop Najee and Jalen Warren and whoever else they throw in there to try and run the ball. So they're going to need to throw. They're going to be playing from behind a lot, even with how good the Steelers defense has been. So give me Russie.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, in Dynasty, just continue to pick up backup quarterbacks. They've been dropping like flies apparently lately. So it's really good in Superflex leagues and Dynasty to just pick up some backup quarterbacks if you need quarterback help right now. All right, waivers for running backs here. Some higher options. You're looking at Jalen Warren, Tyler Algier, Tajay Spears, some of them over that 40% mark. But under the 40% mark, I have currently right now my top 5. Audric Estime obviously saw a season high or career high in targets and opportunity for the Broncos. Could be something moving forward for him to have a bigger role in that Broncos offense. Hold on. Tyreek Hill's officially active. Thank gosh. Trey Benson has got back-to-back weeks. I know it's been a lot more rushing, but they've seemed to be getting him a little bit more involved. I know he's going into a bye, though, this week, but we've known that rookie players kind of produce a little more or get more opportunities after bye weeks, so that could be something. Cam Akers is the correct backup to Aaron Jones, who did leave at one moment with an injury, but seemed to be okay. But you never know. He had 13 carries this past week here. Gus Edwards returned from IR, saw 10 carries pretty much off the bat here. Saw opportunity in that Chargers offense. And again, Ray Davis continues to be an option. I think this could be a week where Ray Davis gets more involved because of they're playing the Chiefs. But Coach Shaw, who is your number 1 running back waiver pickup this week?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Benson. This is kind of the second week this season where I've made dynasty moves to trade away rookies, and then those rookies actually start to see the field. It's really annoying. So if you want any rookies to see the field, let me know. I'll go trade them away in dynasty. I'll give y'all some better weeks. But yeah, we're just seeing his involvement start to step up. Lots of minimal weeks, and we're still seeing 27, 28% of snaps. But we have two RB2 weeks on 27, 28% of snaps against two fairly good defenses in the Bears and the Jets. Like, these aren't bad teams at all. But we see 9 touches last week. We see 12 this week, with 2 of those being targets. So he's getting some work in the receiving game. And he, took his 1 reception last week for 18 yards, and then he took 2 this week for 25. So he's not just getting a little dump off at the line of scrimmage and getting 1 reception for 1 yard. Like, he's actually getting some yardage behind these targets. And I think that that's going to bode well following the bye week on, if we can have this guy averaging 12 plus yards per target, we might need to throw the ball to him more and see if we can gain a couple more yards. But yeah, Benson's exciting. He was most people's dynasty RB2 coming out of this past draft. Yeah. And a lot of people were really confused why you didn't see a ton of him at the beginning of the season. Really, because they have James Conner under contract for at least 1 more year. So they're going to run the wheels off of him while they can. But we're starting to see more involvement. So I'm excited about Benson, even, with the bye week. It's kind of the perfect time to scoop him up because a lot of people will be paying attention to guys they can fill in this week, not for the rest of the season.
Yes, contending teams should look out for Benson for sure. Other options, just high-end backups. Right now, just look for your backups, look for someone else's backups. Just go out there and grab some high-end backups right now at this point. And just hold them on your bench if you can. Dynasty, Leonard Fournette visited with the Bengals this past week. Could be interesting. I know they just traded for Khalil Herbert, but Leonard Fournette has had a history of being decent, especially as a pass catching back. So something to look out for. Jordan Mims, the 3rd string running back for the Saints now. Jamal Williams has been hurt. I know Taysom Hill's playing a little bit more running back role, but Jordan Mims is the backup. So potential there in Dynasty if you're looking for running back depth for your Dynasty roster right now. So. All right, over to wide receivers. Higher end guys like Jerry Jeudy, Quentin Johnston, Christian Watson, all have potential opportunities to go out there and get right now in fantasy if you need them. Those are top guys under 40% right now. So Tyreek Hill has a torn ligament in his wrist, but plans on playing through it tonight. I hope that means the rest of the season. God. So the top guys here, Ricky Pearsall, obviously saw a big game from him finally as a rookie here. Really stepped into that Brandon Ayuk role. It looked very well. I know it was the Bucs, so I tried not to take too much of that with just 1 game, but obviously there's going to be opportunity for him to really thrive in this offense now. Demario Douglas, I know he's been kind of a headache for those who kind of wanted to trust him to start him, and it's been bad, but he has at least 9 fantasy points with Drake May when he plays the full game outside of that 1 London game. So there's potential for him. Mike Williams traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, caught a touchdown. I know it was just 1 catch, but he's going to get more involved in this offense as time goes on. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. We've known about him. We've tried to trust him before in the past. It's probably failed us, and it probably is not a good pickup to go out and grab right now. But the Saints have literally no one at wide receiver. Chris Olave went on IR. Shaheed's on IR. Bub Means on IR. Cedric Wilson is out. Their best wide receiver is a rookie, Mason Tipton. MVS, big game, kind of fits that style of the Saints offense. Is a big, deep threat downfield. A.D. Mitchell, Colts rookie wide receiver. Saw a big uptake with Michael Pittman out, and for me, I would have had him higher if Michael Pittman was out long term. But if Michael Pittman comes back next week, he kind of goes away. But if not, Mitchell saw a big bump and was very productive past week. So, Coach Tyler, who do you like as the top wide receiver?
Yeah, he was my number 1 guy last week. Slicky Ricky, right? Mm-hmm. He's a guy that we said going into this game, at worst, he's the number 2 receiver with Debo healthy as the slot option, almost taking over that Brandon Ayuk role. And at best, he takes over this game in receiving. And that's basically what he did for the 49ers this week. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 73 yards, and that touchdown. good enough for wide receiver 12 before Monday Night Football. It's just kind of how we predicted it, right? It's exactly what we said would happen. At worst, he was on most plays. He was in the slot and Debo's out wide, and they're running little screens to Debo. And then they start to find him over the middle, start hitting him on those crossers, and he gets deep and scores a touchdown, right? It's exactly what we thought was going to happen. And it's great that Shanahan is listening to the fantasy coaches and getting all his notes from us. It helped him win again. But yeah, no, it's, same thing going forward. Like you said, it was Tampa Bay. So the defense wasn't outstanding. And we do have some more difficult secondary matchups for Pearsall ahead. But like we've talked about, Ayuk's out for the year. At worst, Ricky Pearsall is the number 2 wide receiver running out of the slot in a Shanahan offense. And at the best, they're lining Debo up in the backfield. Debo, his health has been kind of on and off all season. At best, he's the number 1 receiver out on the field for the 49ers, which is not a bad place to ever be for someone that you want to produce in fantasy. So Ricky, he's number 1, and he's going to be number 1 as long as he stays on this under 40 list for me.
Yeah, it should probably be all after this week, that's for sure. So some other options, Alec Pierce, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, Jalen Coker, Trey Tucker going off the bye, see if maybe they get him more involved. In Dynasty, it was MVS. He's probably widely available there in Dynasty, so it's a pickup worth picking up just to see if there's anything there with that offense moving forward now. And last but not least, tight ends. Again, if the Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry are still out there, please go pick them guys up. Definitely better options for fantasy. But if not, the under 40% guys, Will Disley has been pretty solid the last few weeks here now. Really has taken over as the tight end role in the passing game. And they play the Bengals this week, who have been terrible against tight ends this year. Definitely a good pickup. Jonnu Smith, if he ends up having another decent outing, obviously we've seen that Tyreek Hill's banged up, so Jonnu Smith might get more opportunity in this offense and be able to produce. Dawson Knox, I didn't put this in the injury note for some reason, but Dalton Kincaid did get banged up in this game this past week here, but maybe Dawson Knox ends up playing as the tight end 1 this week here. We could not have Kincaid, and Dawson Knox has had a history of playing decent for fantasy football, so Coach Tyler, who's your number 1 option at tight end this week?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it at Jonnu Smith. I want to say 2 returned week 8, right? If I'm remembering that right.
Week 8, yes.
Arizona, yeah. So, Jonnu Smith had a little decent run before Tua came back. And he was sitting on these shows for us. He's been sitting kind of near the top of waivers on Sleeper for tight ends. But I was honestly kind of scared once Tua came back that he would disappear. But the past 2 weeks with Tua in, we've seen 6 targets both weeks. Not outstanding in the yards and obviously not finding the end zone. But like we just talked about, Tyreek Hill's injured. If that ligament in his wrist does anything to take him out of games, that only bodes better for Jonnu Smith, who's already receiving 6 targets a game while Tua's in there. So I like just Tua, and it's really a good Dolphins offense. Just trying to get Tua back healthy, trying to make sure the team is healthy as a whole. But yeah, I really, really like Jonnu. Really think that the volume could turn into a more consistent production as the season continues.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Jonnu Smith is definitely a decent option overall. I think that you'll see that tonight where he ends up having another solid game, giving you kind of solid confirmation that he's a solid tight end to go pick up if you need someone this week. And we play the Raiders next week here, and we just saw the Raiders kind of get beat the last few weeks against tight ends, so something to consider there for sure. So other options, Theo Johnson, Chardavius Sanders, 2 rookie tight ends, both on buys though, but good maybe rest of season plays. They may end up seeing some more work in their offenses, even though both offenses are really bad. So, and Dynasty, I don't really see much in Dynasty in terms of tight end pickups. Maybe Dawson Knox is out there now. You can go pick him up. Maybe, I don't know, but nothing really too good. So, but that is going to end our waiver wire show tonight, guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening in. We love having anyone come jump in and ask their questions or anything in general, just listening in. We appreciate it. So, Coach Tyler, is there anything you want to say before we wrap things up tonight?
Yeah, guys, go check out Dynasty Nerds. Me and Coach Steve talk about it every week. We plug it every week. That's where we met, writing over there. That's how we got hooked up to get me on the fantasy coaches. But there's a ton that's going out for in season, a lot getting you ready for your playoffs and rest of the season, articles and rankings and things like that. Coach Steve, there's a ton over there in season. A lot of my work comes towards the Devy draft side. But go over to dynastynerds.com, use code COACH. Once you get over there, get access to the Dynasty GM, get access to the Dynasty Film Room, all those 2025s. Just go watch all the Ashton Genty tape you can watch, because I know that's what I'm doing. It's really fun. But, yeah, go check out Dynasty Nerds, and thank y'all for listening.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And again, we appreciate you for tuning into the Fantasy Coaches, whether you're listening live on our YouTube channel. Highly recommend it. We give you guys a great visual effect, not a visual effect, but a visual for fantasy football here. So you can look at it as we talk about it. It's a lot of fun, a lot of things, a lot of great doing it. Again, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you guys as well. Please like and review for us. Highly appreciate that, obvious as well. We do this for fun. We don't make money on this, guys. I certainly don't make any money on this, that's for sure. But we enjoy doing it. We love giving our opinion. We love giving our fantasy advice. And we both do we do our research. So we're not just bullshitting for you guys. We do really do some highly in-depth research for fantasy. So, and again, guys, we'll be back on maybe Thursday, if not Friday or Saturday. Haven't decided yet. For our start and sit show, we will have a start and sit show this week here, because my start and sit show slides are really awesome. So we thank you guys for listening, guys. Thank you, Tyler. Tune in until next time, everyone, and we'll see you later.
Back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of Clark Kents. I've been feeling super duper. How the heck they know the future? Come with me, don't be a loser. Grass is green like Cooper Scoopers. Clueless analysts don't do the half of this. In fact,